Welcome, everyone, to the next edition of Unscripted and Unstoppable. I am your host, Laureen Quick. This is a space where we have honest conversations about life after 50, about identity, transitions, healing, reinvention, and what it means to navigate the next chapter of our lives with greater awareness, courage, and self-trust. Today's conversation is one that I think will resonate deeply with many women who have walked through difficult seasons and found themselves searching for hope, purpose, and a way forward. Today, I am joined by Patricia Hodges. Patricia, or Trish, as I will call her, is a mentor, author, and host of Under Heaven podcast. Her work is rooted in a Christian perspective and centered around helping women who feel wounded by life, loss, transition, or disconnection. She helps them rediscover hope, healing, purpose, and connection again. What I appreciate the most about Patricia's work is her heart for women that are quietly carrying pain, uncertainty, loneliness, and emotional exhaustion. And also her belief that after a difficult season, women, they are not finished becoming. Together, we're going to explore what women are often carrying silently, why major life transitions can feel so disorienting, and what rebuilding can look like after heartbreak, caregiving, grief, loss, or emotional exhaustion. We'll also talk about faith, resilience, identity, and what helps women hold on to hope when life no longer looks like what they expected. Patricia, or Trish, I am so delighted to have you here today. And I'm just going to jump right into my first question to get us started. Would you share a little bit about your own story and the experiences that have shaped the work you do with women?
Well, thank you so much, Lorraine. I appreciate you so much. We have such a heart for women, both of us, and I love the work that you're doing. And I would say I was definitely shaped by my childhood. I was raised, well, actually, my mother, my birth mother, passed away when I was a year and a half old. And I was kind of passed around between relatives for a while. And then I was taken in by my father's father, who's my grandpa, and my step grandma. And that was quite an interesting childhood because my grandpa was very loving and kind, and I was his princess. However, he was an alcoholic and a womanizer, and the qualities that is not ideal for a marriage. So he and my step grandma didn't get along real well, and my grandma was a very strict. She was of the era of children should be seen and not heard. Well, I was created to be heard, so that was very difficult growing up that way. And so when I became a teenager, I thought I need to get out and I need to experience life. So, being a teenager in the 70s, I experienced just about anything there was in the 70s. And I found that didn't fill up those places where I was lacking love, where I was lacking purpose. And um, I was about 23 years old and I was pregnant with our first child. I had gotten married thinking that would be my answer. So I got married and I found out that was not the answer either. And so being pregnant with my first child, I was on the verge of suicide again. I had tried it a couple times prior in my earlier years, thankfully, non-successful. And at this point, I was thinking of that again, and I thought, I'm carrying a baby in me. I can't be doing that. I can't do that to a baby. So I just cried out. I cried out to God because my paternal mother was a Christian, and I knew that, and I knew there was something different about her because she had gone through breast cancer. She had lost her husband. She had remarried and lost her husband in death, and she carried through it with such, okay, pick up and move on. And I could not imagine how can a woman move on after these things. And so at that point, I knew the only thing different about Grandma was that she knew God. She said she knew God. So I cried out and said, God, if you're real, show me. And he did. I was heading to my closet to get a suitcase and walk down the highway in the middle of winter, pregnant, and just run away from it all. I was leaving my husband, my family, leaving everything behind. And as I was walking to my closet, after crying out, I just felt drawn to my nightstand drawer. And when I opened that drawer, I found a Bible. And it was the living word that my grandpa, the one who passed away, that my grandma had remarried, he had given me a Bible when I graduated high school. And I always kept that Bible with me, but I never opened it. I never looked at it. And so that day, after crying out, I thought, maybe God is real. So I opened the Bible and I began reading page 1 because I thought it was a book. So I started reading from page 1. And that was the beginning of my finding purpose in life. Because as I read and as I began to go to church and went to Bible studies, I realized there's a purpose for me. There's a purpose for me as a mom for this new baby. There's a purpose for me as a wife to my husband. And it just started the ball rolling as to new life. That's
Wow.
how it started.
Well, and that really, I mean, what a remarkable story because it really tells me, shows me to listen to our inner guidance, to listen to
Yes.
our inner voice that's speaking to us, even if it's very quiet or if it's mysterious and we don't even really understand it. Just follow the messages we receive. And that led you to that bedside table that led you to the
hmm
Bible and changed your whole life, the trajectory of your whole life.
Yes, it did.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
And then after that, I began to have a heart for other women who had gone through what I had gone through.
Mhm.
I've been molested a couple times and gone through various things. And I did not, and I totally had no self-worth at that point before I cried out. And I felt my heart just ached for other females out there who had gone through the same thing, who were quietly holding that inside of them and how it had changed their life. It had just, stolen so much from their life. But I wanted so much to tell them there's hope. You can go on. Yes.
And did that happen right away, or was that something that evolved for you over time?
It happened very quickly.
Okay.
Um, I started going to church. As I said, my husband and I had gone to church once previously, and we got into such a horrific fight. I was ready to jump out of the car. This was before I discovered the Bible, and I was ready to jump out of the car. I just was like, I can't take this anymore. That was our one experience in church. So then, after I had picked up this Bible and began reading it, I asked my husband if we could go to church for Easter. And so he agreed. We went to church, and I just felt drawn. I heard the gospel for the first time in full, and I just felt drawn to say, Lord, I'm messing up my life. Will you please take it?
Cool.
And he did the same thing that day too, and I didn't know it till we left the church.
Isn't that amazing that when we change, others around us also change? there's a shift that goes on in, I don't know what you want to call it, this field of spirit, this field of energy, whatever that is, as we evolve. The people that we love, they also shift and change and have the potential to evolve and grow and expand as well.
Yes, it does affect those around us. I call that the
And
ripple effect.
good. That's a really great way to look at it because that's exactly what it is. So I always say, if you want to change the world, shine your light as bright as you can and find the joy in that, and
Yes,
others will be changed. Yeah.
absolutely.
So as you began working with women, I'm assuming now you work with women of all ages. It doesn't matter if they're older, or do you primarily focus on the older women at this point in the work you do?
Um, I work with all women. I have
Okay.
a group called the Sparkle Sisters that meets every Tuesday via Zoom. So we have all around the country. And the youngest I've just found out is 28. And the oldest, I believe, well, the oldest I've had in the group is probably in her 80s. So we work with all ages because women of all ages need to know that they have a purpose, that they're loved, and that they can go forward. I just listened to something that you had put, Lorraine, on, and it said you talked about not having an expiration date. That, no matter what our age is, it doesn't mean because we're in our 50s, things are over. We're in our 60s, things are over. And that is what I want women to know, no matter what their age is, they can go forward, they can grow, and they can help others. And that is a big thing, like we just said with the ripple effect. As we help others, it helps us grow, it helps them, and then they will reach out and they help others too. And so I work with all ages and any woman that needs that extra spark, that shine, like you said.
I like the name the Sparkle Sisters. That sounds like a lot of fun. And what an age group range of 20s to 80s. Wow, I bet you get some really interesting stories and some fun connections that go on in that group.
It is, yes.
So, if you think about the work that you have done and your own life yourself, what do you think stops us from feeling that we don't have a purpose or that we are not, whatever our purpose might be, is not that valuable that anyone would really care? We doubt ourselves.
Mhm. Well, I know that this world has a lot of evil and depression in it. I mean, when you look around or you watch a newscast, what gets people's attention? The bad stuff. And it seems like we fill our mind with all this stuff and we take so much to be truth. Like maybe even somebody does something good, but they'll pick out something negative about their life. And it's like, why don't they pick out the positive, the good thing that they did? And I think we have been trained to think on the negative. And we turn that inside. We look at that. That's us. You know what? If they can't, if nothing is good about that person, then what's good about me? You know? And I know I lost my what do you call it? Worth when I was molested. I was molested at about 12 and then again as an older teenager. And that took away who I was. I felt I had lost my voice. And like I said, I was raised by a grandma who didn't let me express myself. And then I had the males in my family who kept me quiet. And I just thought, well, hey, I believed it. I believed I had no worth. And I think a lot of women feel that they don't really have that worth, like you said, that they don't have anything to contribute.
And we don't, well, first off, we have a mind of a child, so we can't really discern reality or truth sometimes from the adults who are our caregivers, the people that we depend on.
Yeah,
They are our authority in our lives. So we believe whatever messages either they send us or that we perceive they're sending us, right? And
absolutely.
we grow up doubting ourselves. We then go out into the world, as you said, and you are right. There is a huge focus on the negative. And so we become critical. And I do believe a lot of our judgment is really projection. So when I am judging others, it's really I am judging myself, and I'm just transferring that over there because it's too harsh for me to take in for myself. But psychologically, deep inside, I don't think I'm good. And so we basically grow into adulthood, most of us, not all of us, but most of us, with messages that we are not worthy. Whatever we have to say is not important. And we really should just be quiet, and just fulfill the jobs or the roles that we have been given and not ask a lot of questions.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
one of the things I have noticed is that changes significantly in your 50s and 60s. Suddenly,
Mhm.
you're just not that interested in going along to get along.
Yes.
And so we start to question and challenge. And I'm not, I'm curious why it is that that time in our life, not before, not because we're so busy maybe, but we have some time to start reflecting, and it's sort of like, no. And also, we know we don't have that much time left relative to how much we've lived. So life becomes and time becomes precious. So maybe I'm answering
Yes.
my own question there, but
You are. I agree with you anyway.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then we
that's
wake
so
up and
true.
go, we're going to change. And so, from your perspective, for any woman who wants to change her life, what does she need to do?
She needs to realize who she is. She needs to realize that she has a purpose. We were born into this world for a reason, whether it was for the family, to create joy in that family, whatever our purpose, or maybe to grow up and be a doctor who discovers something that cures a disease or something. Everybody is born with a purpose. And I take that because I'm a Christian content creator. I take that back to the Bible where it says God has a good plan. He has a hope and a future for everyone, and that it's not his will any go off into that negative world that has been created around us.
It's really
And
it's
yeah,
really an act of faith.
for me it was, yes. And I
Well,
believe
I
it is for the women who even,
don't
yes, I
don't
agree.
follow a religion per se. I think it's an act
Right. A faith, yeah.
of faith, and then a seeking of support, that you get messages that affirm your faith.
Yes.
If that
Community.
makes sense. Community, exactly. Like the Sparkle Sisters. It could be church, it could be a hiking group. Doesn't matter who it
Yes.
is, but that you start to surround yourself with others who also see your innate value, and
Right.
help you cultivate and um, flower in your potential. Yeah.
That's it. Yes. Yes. I started out, like I said, I started going to church and everything, and I started going to a Bible study. And this woman who had it at her house, I can't remember the circumstances, but for some reason she wasn't able to have it at her house. I'm like, oh, hey, everybody can come to my house because I'm a people lover. I just love people. So yeah, bring them on. And so we started, I was probably only had attended church maybe a month when I started opening my home to people for Bible study. And then I just started having the Bible study. And that was over 40 years ago. And I love to open my home to women. And it's that community. It's just, we'd have tea parties, we'd have dessert parties. We would just, sometimes it was just outside. A lot of the women had small kids because back then I was in my 20s and 30s. And so we had younger children, and they would bring their children, and, they'd be playing in the swimming pool or in the water, whatever. And we'd be able to sit there and encourage each other. That's what you mentioned. It's that encouragement that, hey, you are a great mom. I love what you're doing with that child, or you're an awesome wife. You actually made that your husband's favorite meal. We just encouraged each other. We found the good in each other. And that helps us to grow, to know, okay, yes, I don't have to take on the labels that the world has given me. I'm not broken. I'm not useless. I'm not expired. You know, no, those are labels that are all wrong because no matter what our age, God has more. I started my first business at 69 years old, you know, and my husband's like, who starts a business at 69? I'm like, me.
I actually don't think you're too alone. I think there's quite a few women and men who are beginning businesses in their 60s and 70s.
Yes.
The work they do is often with a mission or a purpose in mind.
That's
It's
it.
not, I'm starting a business because I want to be a billionaire and create a
Right.
dynasty. It's because I
Hmm.
see a need and I want to fill that
Yes.
need. And I
Yes.
need and I want that to help me live my life as well. So yeah,
And
perfect.
reaching out to others, like you talk about, you see a need, reaching out to others is so gratifying when you see them, the light bulb go off, you know? It's
Mhm.
such an awesome feeling to see someone who didn't think they were any good because their husband had left them and the kids are all gone now. And it's like, what do I do now? You know, just like how you work with women. You know, what you do, you begin learning things. I began learning about the computer. It's, at 69. I began to learn how to do a podcast. And, I wrote my first book, well, in 2019. And so that, I was over 50, over 60.
Uh-huh.
But, there's always somebody we can reach out to and help. And in that, it helps us.
And in that, you also begin to build community
Yes.
because yeah, sometimes you'll say, "Oh, I don't know, I'm afraid to join a group. I don't know what I would say. I don't know if they'll be nice, you know." So you have all these kind of doubts and worries and fears about, especially if you're an introvert, about
Hmm.
connection with others. But
Oh, yeah.
I've noticed two things. One is yes, women want to help each other. They have, they always want to help each other. And so put that fear or doubt away in your mind. You will be warmly welcomed. Secondly, offering to help. You know, one of my friends, she said, "Well, I always watch you, Laureen, and what I see is whenever you want to do something, you just create a group and then you go out and you do it." And I'm like, "Exactly." Because I can't always find the group I want to be doing that with. I'll just say,
Hmm.
"Okay, I'm starting a new group. This is what we're going to be doing. Who wants to join?" And women.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so in that regard, both of us were a lot alike. We're not shy about just opening up and welcoming people into our lives.
Yes. Yeah.
So look for people like us. If you're feeling lonely and you want to connect with someone, that's one
Sure.
strategy. Or become someone like us and start opening your life up to other people and welcoming and inviting them in and create your own communities. Either way
Absolutely.
works, right?
It does. That's
Yeah.
great. Hmm.
Yeah. And I would say, my girlfriends in particular, all of them, they are the joy of my life. When I am struggling, when I am down, they're my cheer squad. One of my friends has
Yes.
that. You need a cheer squad. And it's like, yes, you do.
There you
You need a
go.
group of women that you can say, "Oh, I'm in trouble here. I'm dragging. I have
Mhm.
this problem. I'm trying to solve it. What do you think?" And then they come back with not only ideas to help you, but also encouragement and a reinforcement of a belief in you. And that this isn't because you're a horrible person this is happening. It's because you're ready for this challenge. Those kind of,
Yes.
yeah.
Right. You're ready for change. And that's when we feel that uncomfortableness in life, when we feel that something's missing or there's got to be more, that's when it's time to change. That's something inside of us that just says, okay, time to grow. Change doesn't have to be a bad thing. We'll find the good. And we begin to grow and learn and reach out and meet more people. And you're so right. We're able to encourage each other and support each other. You know, my group, because it's called Sparkle Sisters, we call each other sparklers. And, you know, like one of our group was feeling very down one day, and she, you know, texted, and I let the other sparklers know, you know, hey, she's having a hard day. Let's remember her and, you know, lift her up. And
Mhm.
she called me like about, I don't know, an hour or two after that. And she said, oh, I know y'all were praying for me because I actually got to rest and get some peace because she hadn't been sleeping and you know, and she says, I actually got to rest and get some peace. I know everybody was lifting me up. And so those are the things that make us, you know, we know that the world needs us.
And do you think that also, besides just the community that we have around us, it's also important to become introspective, to be reflective about ourselves and our lives?
Yes, absolutely. And that's something, especially those of us who have gone through trauma in our early life, um, we pack it all away and we forget about it. We think that was me. It's like, okay, push it aside, put it under the rug, and go forward. But you know what? There comes a time in our life when we have to sit quietly and look at the inside. Look at why we're doing things. I found out so much about myself when I began to take time and face why I was making some of the choices I was making. And it's just, it's life-changing when you realize that. You know, I
And
felt
so,
rejected as a child. And like you said, sometimes we project things onto other people. And, you know, so I was projecting rejection from the people that were around me when there
when they,
wasn't even.
yeah, exactly. When it really wasn't even projection. It is really interesting. I'm learning more and more what we believe we look for as evidence to support our world. So if I believe that I'm unlovable and that people will reject me, what I do when I go out into my day is I'm looking for any evidence that that is true. What I'm not
That's right.
looking for is evidence that that is contrary, that that is wrong. And it just dumbfounds me how if we just shift a little bit in how we think about ourselves, then we start looking for different kinds of evidence, different kinds of
Yeah,
messages and experiences that actually affirm us, right? But
right.
you
Yeah,
can't do that until you know what those stories are, right?
that's right.
And then
Absolutely.
begin to tackle them one by one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
facing it. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I
that,
had sometimes it hurts a little bit at that time, but you have to say that's okay. You know, it's okay that there is that when you're going introspective, but don't stay there.
yes.
Don't stay there. Go forward.
Uh,
Let go of it. I have one person I know, what their word is step out of that, you know, step out and
I
step into
love that.
something new.
I
Yeah.
love that. It just sounds so much better than let go. Let go is kind
Yeah,
of an overused term, right? But step
it
out,
is.
step up, step out, step somewhere. Move on.
Yeah.
At the same time, you've acknowledged what you're leaving. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. And there's so much freedom in that. The freedom, that's the thing that I felt when I would just said, you know, okay, I am not that person anymore. I'm not who I was. I am who I am meant to be. I am created with a purpose and I'm who I'm meant to be. And it was getting rid of all that stuff. It lifts a load off your shoulders, you know, because you're carrying all that stuff. We don't realize the baggage that we carry, no matter what our age is. You know, even if like you know, working with the women who are older and maybe their husband passed away or their, like I said, their children are gone. They carry baggage oftentimes of, did I do this right with my son? Did I do this right with my daughter? You know, did I make my husband feel this way or that way? we go forward because, okay, that life is over. There's nothing we can do to change it.
That's right.
And we faced it, we faced how it affected us, and now we grow and learn to go farther in a good direction.
And part of that too is I think it helps to have a vision of who we're becoming,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
And
that's
it's
good.
like I have a vision, a very clear vision of the woman I'm becoming. And sometimes what I will say to myself is, "Oh, I am not that woman anymore. I am that woman. I am that woman, and that woman would not do this or think
Mhm.
this or believe this. And I choose her."
There you go.
Right. And I let
Yes.
go of whatever I was holding on to. And
Mhm.
we cling, I like the word clinging because we cling to the bad, but we also cling to the good and we want to keep replicating the good. So if I went to a
Right.
restaurant, had a really great dinner there, I always want to go back to that restaurant and have the same dinner, but of course it's never the same. And so then I'm disappointed.
Yeah, it's a
And
different
if I,
cook.
yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, or a different day, right? Just a different
Yeah.
day. So then it's like, okay, what am I clinging to? Even good stuff that is weighing me down, holding me back, stopping me from having a really incredible new experience because I'm all about expansion. I want to.
Yes.
And
Yes.
when I create stories in my head that hamper me, I'm not a happy woman. I'm just not happy.
Right.
Yeah.
Or not. Have you, I think we might have discussed this when we talked previously, but Dr. Carolyn Leaf had a big impact on me when I studied what she has studied and learned about the brain and the neuro whatever, the things
Mhm.
that go on in our brain, our thought patterns. And it's like when we keep thinking the negative, a root like is dug into our brain with these negative thoughts, and like you said, you just kind of when it rains and there's a rut in the yard, the rain just comes and goes right in that rut. That's what happens with our negative thinking. It's just so easy, it's so comfortable to let those negatives go. But what Dr. Carolyn has learned is that when we do switch that thinking and we begin to think about the positive part, those connectors actually begin to create a different pathway in our brain. And it's like, whoa, yeah, that old pathway's there, but we can create a new one. And
Yes.
so, science has even shown us how important it is to think on the positive. And I saw another study talking about positive is our words, speaking positive words. And this, I cannot remember the scientist's name, but he had three, I think they were rice seeds, and he put them in 3 jars of water, and he labeled each one like positive, negative, and neutral. And I guess they were in different rooms, and he would speak positive words over the one. He'd speak, neutral words over the other and negative over the other. And you know what happened? I mean, this is actually, you can look it up on Google or
Hmm.
YouTube. Um, the one that he spoke positive over flourished. It began to grow. The one that he spoke neutral over, it began to root and grow, but not fantastically. The other one rotted. The one that he went and spoke those negative words over, like you're nothing, you're dirt, you know, it's just saying negative things to that plant. Now, if nature reacts in that way, how much more the people were around? So I really also encourage positive words over others and
I
ourselves.
I agree totally. I think there's also been some work done around water and that they look at water crystals and the words that are
Mhm.
spoken before and after, and they'll see the same kind of result. The water
Yeah, I
crystals
saw
that you
that.
say words of joy and happiness and love are just these incredibly beautiful crystals. And then
Yes.
the words that are negative are spoken, and the water has this shriveled up, very broken, jagged, not what we would consider beautiful appearance. So you
Mhm.
are absolutely right. The words you choose to speak with become powerful for your life and for the people around you.
Yes, it's amazing.
It really truly is. So, my gosh, we've had lots of tips today all around as we want to evolve and change ourselves. Let's see if we can remember them all. We'll get a good group of friends together, get a community going, a cheer squad. What's another one that you think of off the top of your head we've talked about?
Um, I love the group thing because I am all about that. Quiet time. I think quiet time is very important. Like you talked about introspection. I
Mhm.
believe that's a very important thing. And we need to sometimes just shut out the noise of the world and just come. And like you said, get a vision. Listen to those leadings. Get your vision and know that you can do it. You can do it.
Absolutely. And then speak positive to yourself and to those around you in your world. And look for the evidence that supports your evolution, your potential, your growth versus your failings. Because that evidence, it's there. Both of it is there. It depends on what you want to focus on, right? Yeah.
And you know what comes to mind when you say that is when we are speaking to a friend comes to us and has a problem, we're going to be kind to them. We're going to try to help them. So when we ourselves have a problem, so often we tend to be harsh on ourselves, but we need to give ourselves the same grace we give our best friends.
I love that word grace. Yes. We need to give ourselves grace, just as we would give any friend.
So
Mhm.
important.
And fundamentally, at that level, really, Trish, what we're talking about is we have a really great relationship with ourselves.
Hmm.
We love ourselves, we see our value, we appreciate ourselves, and we are kind and compassionate to who we are.
Yes, absolutely. When we know ourselves and know that we have a purpose and we're loved, yeah.
So, anything else you want to say today to women who are listening or watching about how to reconnect to who they are and flourish for
Well,
for the
it's
next chapter of their life?
the next chapter. That's right. It is just so good to know that there are people out there, and I love that you mentioned if you can't find a group you fit in, create one of your own and find the people who want to join your group. That is so important to have that. But even if it's one-on-one, reach out to another person, reach out to another woman and encourage them. And you'll begin to see and feel that encouragement and that joy and that life sparked inside of you.
Oh, that is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Well, listen, I want to say thank you so much for being here today. I have enjoyed this conversation, and I know my listeners, the viewers, are just getting great ideas and thoughts from this whole experience. I just you have a lot of compassion. You're very honest. Thank you, Trish. It was
Yeah,
wonderful.
well, thank you, Laureen. I'm so happy to be able to be here with you. And every time we talk, the time just flies by. So
It
thank you
does.
so much. I enjoyed it.
And to those of you listening, if this conversation resonated with you, I hope that it reminded you that you are not alone in what you're carrying, even if parts of your journey feels isolated, feels quiet, feels confusing, or that you're even just unseen. If you would like to connect with Patricia on the work that she does, there will be links in the show notes that you can connect with through to her. She has her website, her books, and podcast, and all that good stuff. And also, if you are in a season of reinvention, transition, or just asking these deeper questions about your next chapter, I would invite you to join us in July for the Next Chapter Summit. The theme for the summit in July is Independence After 50. And we're not going to be focusing on independence as let me do it all by myself. I've got this. It's more about how can we connect with who we are ourselves and still have these incredible relationships with others that honor. both who I am and who you are. And you'll find information about that summit in the show notes as well. I thank you all for being here and invite you to join us for the next episode of Unscripted and Unstoppable by subscribing. Thanks, and everyone, have an incredibly wonderful, positive, far out, and fantastic day.